September 2024, right here, I posted on X, crypto's about to explode. And right now, we have very similar data setting up not only for the Bitcoin chart on the weekly, the zoomed out, a trend reversal that is happening right now, a bullish one, but it's also the altcoin charts. In this video, I want to break down on Bitcoin, on altcoins, this massive trend reversal. So hit the subscribe and like on the way in. And I just want to say something right now on the altcoin chart, and we're going to really dive into this. Do you see this higher low on altcoins? This is excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. We have a higher low from this consolidation back there in August. And here's that September area when I posted that post on X right before that breakout, weeks before the breakout. But here's the difference. And please keep this in mind as we're going through this analysis, because this is huge for me. We just went through, in terms of financial markets, if you go look at the S&P, a capitulation, a high fear environment, a fear environment that if you start looking at something like the volatility index on the S&P 500, we've not been through something with such high fear since basically back here in the COVID high fear. Altcoin charts just went through that, and we're still putting in a higher low. This is one of the most important things and signals, I think, to watch if you're a serious macro investor in crypto right now. Because the very fact that altcoins just survived in that manner, with all this other bullish fundamentals happening right now, that many of these things I won't even touch on in this video, we are very primed. And I'm not trying to just throw out this clickbait or this hopium. But from a macro perspective, crypto has never looked so bullish. Even back here at these swing lows, crypto looking even more bullish right now. Let's start on the Bitcoin charts, and then we're going to dive into the altcoin charts. So basically on the weekly, what I want to point out is what we've been kind of tracking, the trend reversal. The similar trend reversal that we had after that 8-month consolidation, just waiting for Bitcoin to break out of that, waiting for Bitcoin to break out of it. And it did. It broke this trend line of these lower highs. You can just see that breakout signaled the true reversal to the next all-time high, right? Right now, we're getting a very similar signal on this RSI. We are about to contend with the moving average line on the RSI, which I think in the short term is something to pay attention to as we also approach the 20-week moving average, $92,000. An area of resistance for Bitcoin, if it can make that $4,000 move from where we are right now to the $92,000 area, this is a very, very key area to flip. You can notice Bitcoin flipped it right here, consolidated for weeks above the 20-week moving average, and then the breakout happened, right? And you can see all of this playing out on the RSI. You can see how we're in this very similar environment right now in Bitcoin. So when I posted this in September, this was mid-September 2024, we had a lot of things going on. Crypto is about to explode, I said. October's close. Elections were near. There were rate cuts happening the next day. The dollar was falling, which it is now. More ETFs approaching, and this is very true for the altcoin markets. Institutions pouring in, still true. Global M2 money supply increasing. And so we go to the daily chart in Bitcoin, and this has never been so true as it is right now. If we open up the M2 Global Liquidity Index, where we see crypto kind of just 108-day lead time following that yellow line, the M2 money supply increasing. And so in September, when I posted that, mid-September, you can see Bitcoin tracking along M2 supply and then breaking out with it. Is this happening right now for Bitcoin? Now, as you can see, when I posted this in September, it took weeks for the actual breakout to happen. And so I think in the short term, we should anticipate, something similar. That's not to say Bitcoin can't just start making it happen very quickly, but we should anticipate even still just some choppy waters. And I think on the short term, we get a really nice idea of this. You can notice we're having a very similar move from a technical perspective on Bitcoin, and then we're going to look at the altcoin charts. But the 20-day moving average starting to flip, and this is what we want to see. The 20-day flip above the blue line, the 50-day, and then the red line, the 200-day. And so we're starting to get a potential move in that regard, right? And you can just see Bitcoin right now approaching the 200-day. We would like to see Bitcoin break that 200-day moving average. And it did here, right? But then it fell back below. But if we go to that weekly chart, I think what is so important to pay attention to is not so much on the daily. It's on the weekly, that $92,000 area around the 20-week moving average. Notice how back here, we broke above it as the RSI was breaking the lower high trend line. We broke above the 20-week moving average. We kind of just traded sideways for weeks, and then the breakout happened for Bitcoin. Let's see how Bitcoin interacts with the 20-week moving average. We need to start closing a weekly candle above that area. So if I zoom in here on this chart, we want to see Bitcoin make the move to $92,000 right here and start closing weekly candles above that area. But it really does all start on this chart. If we look at this chart, where's $92,000? $92,000 right around here. You can see how close Bitcoin is to that area. So are we going to have a similar thing that happened last time? We're breaking the 200-day moving average, and then we're kind of seeing resistance, right? Breaking the 200 and resistance. One thing that I see that is different here, I don't know if you've noticed it, this lower high trend line on price, Bitcoin was seeing resistance after breaking the 200-day in red and then coming back down. Right now, we've just broken above this price trend line, and that's a big deal. Either way, we could still see resistance at the $92,000 20-week moving average. That's the area to break for Bitcoin. Once we get there, then for me, I'm going to start talking about the real macro bullish reversal that is very comparative to what happened at this moment where Bitcoin was getting ready to explode. And keep in mind, the M2 Global Liquidity Index, that is also very much in play right here, right now. So if we're going back here, though, I said in September, crypto is about to explode, not just Bitcoin. And now we have this happening, right? This is April 13th. This is like, just over a week ago, but M2 supply going parabolic right now. We just looked at it on the Bitcoin chart. But then we start getting clues on the altcoin charts. And really what I want to show you on this altcoin chart is, I think, a good representation of how a lot of us are feeling. And we're in this really decisive moment right now. At least I am. Because something has changed. Cycles have changed. And there's no better, clearer picture than on the altcoin chart. So if you're an altcoin holder, really, and I'm saying this because it's for me, this is so helpful. Here's Bitcoin having last cycle, right? This yellow line back here. Just notice the altcoin charts were breaking all-time high around 279 days or so. Let's just call it 280 days, whatever, after Bitcoin halving. So what previously happened is after Bitcoin having this cycle, we're getting to like 270 some days and we're testing all-time high. And so many of us were kind of like, dude, it's happening again. The cycles, they're just repeating again. And we're about to break out. And the thing is, it did not happen. It just didn't happen. And actually instead we fell into this record-breaking, high fear, macro, economic, even the uncertainties with monetary policy and Jerome Powell, the tariff stuff is going on. We fell into this environment, not this historically repetitive, just bull market continuation, parabolic move. We went the opposite direction. And during this time, and I've seen it on sentiment and social media, many people frustrated, and that's okay because, it's completely normal when we're anticipating a potential bullish move. But at the same time, this setup that we're getting right now, it could not be any more bullish. Instead of breaking out, we've actually reset all of these charts. And not only have the charts on altcoin charts reset, we've done so in a record-breaking high fear time. And we've not even fallen below the previous swing low back here, meaning we're putting in a higher low. You can even take a Fibonacci swing low to swing high and just look at the altcoin markets, excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, sitting at the 618 support. We've not even wicked down to the 786 or just above $600 billion in these markets. And maybe that's in play. But right now, we're in this formation, this structure, this consolidation happening. And even if you look at the structure of it, it's looking very similar to back here, maybe just a little bit smaller. But right now, as we are approaching M2 Global Liquidity Index, consistencies on this chart, I think right now is a very good time to, at the very least, you don't have to be like all in, this is definitely going to happen. None of us can ever say anything is definitely going to happen, but crypto is looking very primed. And we're in this also environment where we're having regulatory clarity. We're having SEC drop all of these cases. We have it's imminent when all of a sudden we could see some announcement from the US administration talking about, a plan for accumulating Bitcoin. US about to just buy 1 million Bitcoin. There are so many things that could trigger just an absolute explosion for crypto right now. And right now, when we're kind of getting out of this high fear environment on altcoin charts or on Bitcoin charts, right now is the time to pay attention, everybody, on the macro. And again, this is coming from somebody who's a macro long-term investor, but I do like to track the short term. So short term, maybe we still have a little more time to go, right? A little bit more volatility and choppiness on these charts. But watch the $92,000 area on the Bitcoin chart. If we go to an altcoin chart, this is the altcoin on the daily. Watch these moving averages similar to Bitcoin start flipping to the upside. And all of a sudden, watch if we get a breakout. Very similar to what happened back here. In my view, we're in a more bullish environment now that markets have reset. And I'm not just talking crypto, but I'm talking traditional markets as well. Because if you look back on all of these charts, when we fall into those oversold, high fear areas, it just really is the place where there's long-term macro opportunity. So these are my thoughts today as we start this week. There's a lot to dig into as we start this week in terms of altcoins, specific altcoins, and I really want to do that. So please hit the subscribe, turn notifications on, and if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. I will see you in the next video. God bless.